Oh God, no. I think it needs to be talked about because you have a couple. I think if you do it and it goes amazing, you're absolutely buzzing because you're like, this is the best like invention ever. And everybody that we were talking to that was doing them and it was going well, you're like, oh my God, like I'm never going to leave my house again. And like, I'm never coming out of my pajamas. And next time I'm going to shoot in the bath. And it's just so practical. But when it goes bad, and I had 3 back to back, and it was just unsettled babies, one that's just had their jags, and then just a family where the little one just wanted to keep grabbing the phone, and because he was mobile and he could get up and he could do it, when he got the phone, he just launched it. So the connection was going all the time, and the mother was getting frustrated, and she sees the images that I've put up of other mothers, and it's all very ethereal. I'm like, we took hundreds of pictures to get that one image. Like, don't judge yourself by that at all. This is all smoke and mirrors, love. Like, it was crazy. So don't put any pressure on yourself. And I always say normally get the shots in the last 5 minutes. So don't stress yourself out.
The goal isn't to live forever. The goal is to create something that will.
Welcome to Perspective, a podcast for wedding creatives, where we sit down often with a special guest and talk about our many years of experience in the wedding industry so that you can learn from us and to grow your wedding business. On today's episode of Perspective, we're talking to one of my favourite people on Clubhouse, voice for podcasting but can he keep a tune, virtual artist Kellee Quinn-Lynch.
Can't keep a tune. You don't know that I can't keep a tune. Possibly I could.
You're spoiling the intro. You get back and shush. As COVID measures set in, Kellee turned her attention to recreating old masters with her family and started the Q Muse project, her FaceTime sessions, as a creative outlet during the isolation period. If you've ever been interested in pivoting to sessions with more of a digital twist, then Kellee is one of the greatest voices in the space. We think all of her work is amazing, but I do wonder if Instagram does too. Yes, we're going to be diving into the topic of censorship on today's discussion. So if you've been struggling with social media removing your post because of some nips or something, keep listening. This episode is, of course, sponsored by With Jack and for a limited time, beans.ie. So Greg, I'm going to pour your coffee.
I don't actually know what we're drinking. I think you brewed it, so I think you said it was Honduras.
It's a Honduras. It's the...
is it High Five?
It is the High Five.
High Five from Proud Mary.
Which comes under their Curious tab.
Good, I was feeling a bit curious today.
In a tall glass.
It's weird.
Yeah, I know. I don't know why I did that, but...
Well, we know we already like this because we've drank it a few times.
Oh, yes, it's good. Yes. So yes, like I mentioned, we are of course sponsored by our coffee suppliers. As photographers, filmmakers and business owners, we know the power of stories, and beans.ie do too. They started because they knew there were so many stories to tell about the world of coffee, and not just about the regions or the varieties, but about the people behind the beans, the roasters, and us, the drinkers. This is the most flexible coffee subscription that we have ever used, showcasing some of the top roasters around the world who bring something different to your table. You've been listening to Greg and I talk for years now about what we've been drinking at our podcast table, but now you can join us. Curate your own monthly subscription from an ever-changing list of beautiful coffees, and because you are our best friends, we're hooking you up with a promotional code. If you use the promo code Perspective15, you get 15% off your first order. That is Perspective15 to get 15% off your first order for coffees with stories. What's wrong with me today? For coffees with stories sent straight to your door. Butchered that. But hello, Kellee. How are you?
That was smooth.
Very smooth.
Yeah, if you ever want me to do that for you again, I'll jump in with my smooth voice.
Who needs any podcast to be smooth anymore? No. It's just more entertaining if it's a little bit of a car crash. So
not smooth on Clubhouse either. No chance.
Nah.
No.
So do you have anything you're drinking over there? Are you on your third or fourth coffee?
No, I'm a one coffeeer at the moment now. I'm on a big bottle of SodaStream sparkling water. That's what I'm on.
I love a SodaStream.
Wine.
I love wine.
Nope.
Oh, I love a soda stream, but I've been waiting for my local shop to open because I like to do the kind of a canister exchange, you know.
Yeah, wait a second. My Bluetooth is just going a bit funny there because
Oh no!
I think somebody tried to call me. Can you hear me okay?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
We absolutely can.
Good.
Is it still coming through your brand new AirPods?
No, it's not because someone just tried to send me a little FaceTime video call there. So that disconnected us as the go.
Mm.
I'll let you try.
We can keep going.
They know you're obviously talking live to us.
Yeah, no, I think it was a deliberate sabotage. It was a deliberate sabotage.
Do your kids have pads? Maybe it's them.
No. It's a grown ass adult. I can see it was a grown ass adult. Yeah, I know.
Honestly. Come on, people. Leave her alone. I know she's popular, but we've got her. She's ours right now.
So, yeah, I'm going to just speak to you on these ones until I can get my ear. There we go.
Awesome. So, well, thank you very much for joining us today on this Easter Friday.
I know. Kids off school. Crazy times.
I know. And we're here in the studio avoiding my kids.
Exactly.
I'm an awful person. So,
cool.
like I said on the intro, you are obviously one of my favorite Clubhouse voices to listen to. Yeah, in case people don't know, and I have mentioned it on the podcast quite a bit, but...
Quite a bit.
Yeah, it is one of my favorite rooms, the Photography and Womanhood room. Do you want to tell people about it, when it is, where they can find it?
Yeah, I started the group with Emma Lawson on a Monday and a Thursday at 9:30 now in the morning, because obviously kids are back at school. We used to be on a Monday and a Friday, but just kids again, screwing up plans. And it was basically just a place just a safe space for people to come in and women to come in and just talk about anything that began on Monday, just what was the plans for the week, and then Thursday, just accountability, really, and just somewhere for us to bump our gums. We're all self-employed and at home, or maybe one or two business partners like yourself. But other than that, we don't really get to talk, and we just needed a staff room, to be honest.
Yeah. And people out there are thinking, hang on, why is Simon in the room? I just love it. Yeah,
well, we buzz you in all the time. That's a must for the banter.
Yeah, it's an honour. Me and Jeremy, I feel are regular listeners to the room.
You're very good. We've even talked about Kegels.
With the help of my wife as well, which I thought was cool.
Exactly. So it doesn't always go down the vagina route, obviously, but it does a lot, to be honest.
It does. I don't mind that.
That's okay.
That's fine.
That's okay.
You're right, though. As self-employed people, and usually sole operators, you miss out on that staff room or just banter with work colleagues. Like we've got the office here, and there's 7 or 8 of us work from it. But because of COVID, we're not being in the office. So we've been missing out on that as well. And it's like, normally you just turn around and shout something across the room and bounce ideas off someone else who's a creative with a different input. But we've been missing that this year.
Yeah, 100%. And I think if anything, it's probably put us under even more stress because your income's not coming in and your creativity's going, and you're at home with your children, and that's also putting you under stress. So I think if anything, Clubhouse came along at the perfect time for us. The first couple of weeks, all we talked about was mental health. And then it was nice to move on to talking about our work. And obviously, like we're saying, with the censorship and the virtual portraits and stuff that we're taking off globally and being, probably one of the photography world's kind of biggest global trends, it was a place for us to all come together because everybody was just fudging it and working out what to do. And it brought the app developers in together and people that had been doing them for ages. And it was just such a good, space. I think it was probably one of the saviors of lockdown, to be honest, was jumping onto Clubhouse. It really gave people some relief.
Yeah, no, I agree. And well, I mean, I don't know about you, but when I first got the app, I was on it for like hours just listening. And then, it's just such a good app. I don't know why. And it helps, for people out there who like struggle with like public speaking or whatever, it's kind of a nice, soft way to introduce yourself into that kind of realm of speaking to people who you maybe don't know yet.
Yeah. It was sickening the amount of time you could spend on it.
Yeah. But that's kind of key for me. The people you don't know yet. Like I have met and heard from so many voices that I just wouldn't have, if this app didn't exist. So I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
I think it's fantastic.
it expanded, I think, people's profiles. It really helped my business on Instagram. I mean, obviously not Facebook, but it really helped boost my Instagram and open me up to the brands that were out there as well. And there was people that worked with brands, and there was commercial directors and project managers. And I think when you think about a brand and wanting to work with them, you struggle to think about even how to approach them. So I think when people were coming in and they were project managers and assistant project managers and brand managers and, art directors, and they were all in one place, and they were like, anyone get any questions? You were like, hell yeah, I've got a question. Like, how do I get in touch with you? And everybody was just sharing all this information. And you were like, this would have taken so many doors to knock on and so many emails to maybe get traction with these people who were now just all sitting in Clubhouse going, talk to me.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
So obviously, you've mentioned that the womanhood room gets pretty interesting. So drop some truth bombs that you've heard in some other rooms or some of your rooms recently.
I don't think there was any bombs apart from the room that I remember the most with two guys that were on it, and I think we've all spoke about it. And they started a room called "Why All Photographers on Clubhouse Are Shit." And it was quite a big room, and it's been a controversial room since it went on, and it was hundreds of people in the room, and people were like fighting, and it was brutal. And I was in it and I heard it, and it's like the stuff of legends. But the guys did it to get traction, and they admitted it afterwards. And it was so not what they are like actually as people. They're super helpful, super nice. But they just wanted a controversial room to pull people over to their rooms, and it worked. But some people are just not forgiving them for it, and it's been like one of the most controversial things that I've heard from then. Where the guys are actually just quite nice guys, complete alpha males, so probably not the best in our room because they would be ripped to shred by all the ladies. But that room will go down in history as one of the most brutal things to listen to. But people were asking for feedback on their images, and some of the images were a bit shit. Yeah. And they told it how it was, and I was like, if you don't want to hear it, maybe don't ask.
Is this the room? Now, I jumped on to Clubhouse very quickly yesterday, even though I was kind of busy with organizing podcasts and stuff. But did I hear, was that the room where, in particular, was it Laura Martha, she had an image of your face that got slated online? Is that the same room?
No, that was another room. So that was the discussion. I know, love it. An image of your face got slated online. There we go. Open to interpretation on many levels. But yes, that was another room where I think that was what was quite a hot subject, because a lot of the rooms that have been critiquing portfolios have been male orientated. So the point of what Laura was bringing up was this room that this image that had been absolutely slated, not slated. Well, it was absolutely slated. I never heard it, and she hasn't told me. So I don't know if it was genuinely my face or someone told me it was about the technical stuff of it.
And I said your face. I said your face because that's exactly how you worded it. I'm pretty sure it was you who was in the room at this time, and I heard you say that word, so I thought that's a funny way to put that, so I'll write that down.
That was funny when I said it. It was funny when it was she just wanted to bring up that the fact that there was an image that women had all voted was their favourite image on her page recently, but a man had critiqued it, so they were like, they needed some more rooms where the portfolio reviews were done by women. And Sarah, who's just joined us in the audience, we were talking about this offline last night to say we would love to see more representation of different ages of women as well, because I'm 40 plus, so I can photograph 20-year-old women all day. Like, they can bust out any angle that they want, but it would be nice to see a representation of women doing more critiques, and also different genres and different ages of women. It's not all 20-year-olds that just have babies. Someone also, say me, who had one for my 40th, just putting it out there.
Someone, it might have actually been Laura, mentioned the fact that getting non-photographers to review some of the photographs, which I thought was quite an interesting idea.
100%, because we want clients. That's what we keep saying. There's loads of us that seem to be curating for other photographers, or you're in little pods with other photographers, and we're putting images out there, and we're curating our feed as if we are doing an exhibition. And I suppose that's what we do as creatives. We want it to be beautiful, but how's it bringing in business? That's why when all these, with Clubhouse, with all the brands and stuff coming in and commercial people coming in, that you're like, well, if that's where you want to take it, how can we get in touch with all those brand people? Or if we just want to start, curating our feeds more for clients. And Emma Lawson, another photographer that I do the room with, was saying, how do we get back to that? Like, how do we get back? It's like Emma, we just literally said your name 2 seconds ago. But how do we create it for clients? How do you create your feed for clients to bring in business? Because in the end, all we do is want to bring in business and bring in money. I don't want to keep other photographers happy. I want to pay my bills.
Yes, no, exactly. So that first room then that you were talking about, this is the first time I've heard about it. So I have no idea what you're talking about.
It was juicy. So the title was just, why are there so many shit photographers on Clubhouse?
Uh-huh. And who started the room? What was it?
Just a couple of guys.
Just a couple of guys. Right, cool.
Yeah.
Just a couple
quite
of guys.
Quite well known on Clubhouse now.
I guess the idea was just create a clickbait title and then
yeah,
that's it.
But it was brutal, and they ran under that persona for the whole room. But when it backfired, I mean, and they stayed in character the whole time, and there is quite a bit of arrogance there with them. But that's what they put out there. But afterwards, they were in rooms, and I've been in a lot of rooms with them since. They just said, we did it for that very reason. We needed everyone to start talking about it. It happened. Everyone's come into our rooms, and they've made themselves quite a big following on Clubhouse because of that. And in the end, they want to push people to their business. So yeah, that's probably the most controversial thing that I've been part on in Clubhouse. The rest of it is obviously just me and Emma and some of the girls and boys in the room talking about smear tests and mammograms and vaginas. Casual. Once you say it's a free-flowing room, you've just got to literally let it go, haven't you?
Yeah.
Well, this section of the podcast, we quite often talk about what we've been doing recently. So on our Clubhouse, we do a Tuesday sort of random open room as well that gets put up on Patreon for the patrons to listen to. And on the last episode, we were talking about a shoot that Simon did for myself and Claire. And as a thank you, I got him a gift. And he's wrote down in the notes here, give Simon whiskey. So I don't know how he knows it's whiskey. He's just guessing.
Because it comes in the same size Amazon box.
Apparently I have to give him a gift right now. And he thinks he knows what it is.
Oh, okay. I maybe did assume, but only because I rattled it and it just sounds like alcohol.
Did I not get something? I'm here.
Oh, sorry, no. This is just a thank you for the shoot that you did for me.
Glen Scotia double cast. Oh.
If anyone's interested on what the shoot was about, they'll have to listen to the Patreon.
Oh my God. Just that conversation alone that we had where Susie and I butcher an announcement is hilarious. It's well worth the investment of a coffee per month just for that one conversation. Well, Greg, thank you very much. That's lovely.
You're welcome.
I love that whiskey.
Feel free to keep it in the office and we'll just drink it here though.
Oh yeah. Uh-huh. That's actually really funny because I just finished my Glen Scotia in the house. So lovely. Thank you so much. I'm just going to do a Q&A reminder. Obviously, if you're not listening live and you're not a member of our Patreon, you're missing out on some good Q&A section that we are recording. Of course, if you are listening live, thank you very much for joining us. And there is a Q&A section at the end. So if you have any questions or just want to say hello to Kellee, I'm sure she'd love to have some banter with you. Anyway, Greg, push that button. Kellee, who are you and what do you do?
Oh, thanks. Was that it? That was a nice intro. Well, my name, Kellee Quinn, and I specialise in motherhood and breastfeeding portraiture. And during COVID, I started doing virtual sessions all over the world because I was bored. That's who I am.
Yeah. How long have you been in this photography game, and what's your journey been so far? How did you get started?
I started about 5 years ago. My son just turned 7 and I met, I was looking for a photographer and I was scouring the interweb and couldn't find anybody that I liked. And then I stumbled upon a little person, literally, called Emma Lawson, and got in touch with her. And I was like, oh, is there any way that you could come down to little old Troon for me? And she arrived and she was heavily pregnant and I just had this tiny little baby. And we did amazing photographs and our ideas really gelled on what we wanted to do. Emma had brought some stuff, and I was like, what about this vibe? She was like, completely suits, your house and everything you looked. And we just talked about it. And she'd said, I think you'd be really good at photography. And it was a weird little kind of serendipity sliding doors thing that happened where I was like, it's a bit random. She said, just the way we were talking about stuff and the ideas and stuff, the way even just holding the baby and stuff like this, it was, she just sparked a curiosity in me to try it, but I didn't own any cameras or anything like that. So Emma did a camera course, literally looking at cameras, and she had to bring one because I didn't have it. And about a year later, I bought it and just started shadowing her on some jobs to see if it's what I wanted to do, and it took it from there. So yeah, I owe quite a lot to her, to be honest. Otherwise, I could just be signing on.
Well, what was the camera?
Emma brought down a Mark III.
Okay.
Brought down a little Mark III for me to play with and just worked the camera. And we went down to the beach and took some shots. And she was like, these are good. You should do them. Because my background comes from TV and music. So when I moved back to Troon from Australia, there was no way that I was going to do the same sort of stuff. It would have been maybe something like Tea in the Park. But in Australia, I'd heard that they were stopping it anyway. So it was just one of those things. Everything I felt happened for a reason. The timing was perfect. We met at the right time. And she was just a really good mentor that kind of pushed me in the right direction. And when I said, I've got a feeling I want to do this style or this side, she was like, go for it. There's nobody doing it in your area. And I did it. And I sent probably over about 5,000 images over the years just saying, is this good? Is this good? Is this good? And she was like, yeah, it's pretty good. I think you should make a job of it. Et voila, 5 years later, here we go.
Yes. Do you shoot for Emma? Because I know obviously we've had her as a guest before to speak about expanding your business with associates. So do you shoot for Emma on the odd occasion?
I used to. We're too far apart anymore. So if she's got an amazing crew around her. But just the fact that we've got tiny little babies ourselves, I can't go that far afield now with the little ones. So it's not been a couple of years that I've not shot for her. But if she moved her ass a wee bit further down to Glasgow or Ayrshire, I'd be in there like a seagull in a hot chip.
So obviously you are a mother. What's your family situation like at the moment? Is it hectic? Did you struggle with home learning and teaching your kids the ways of the world during COVID?
Nah, not really. I mean, I don't know if this is just, again, because I'm older and we've just been through some really hard shit as a family recently. We nursed my nan through dementia for 5 years. My dad died really quickly of cancer, a really young guy last year. And through all of that, when COVID hit, I was like, whatever. Do you know what I mean? Come on. Yeah. Let's have you. So when it was talking about, and I know that it's not being dismissive to how hard it was for other people, but there was just a little bit of perspective in there that I was like, yeah, I'm reading some textbooks. So we just tried to be kind to ourselves at home, and my kids are not ones for being photographed. So I could, you wanted all these personal projects and photographing people at home and documenting your days. That's not my journey. And I think just letting go a lot of that shit makes it a bit easier, where you're just just keep them alive. And do your job, and you're doing good. So I took some pressure off myself because, to be honest, we're just having to stay at home with our families and stay safe. It's not a crazy sacrifice compared to what some people have had to do.
Yeah,
I wasn't going off to war.
Well, yeah. I think that's why I like your photography room, because quite often you chat about that, and it would make me feel as a parent a whole lot better about my situation.
Because, it was hard having them home so much. I think that was the thing. It took away the fun element for it a lot, because they were just there all the time. And I think that's where when we came together on Clubhouse and everybody was talking, we needed this space, because otherwise you're sitting at home thinking, if you didn't love them, you could murder them, not literally, but you're it's just loud. There was no peace. There was no time to be yourself. You were always either a parent or you were always working, and you were stuck at home with your partner. There was no balance to anything. It was just very intense at all times. I think that's where the virtual photography thing really eased things for a lot of people, because you could just be creative, but nobody was leaving the house. So to allow us to all, see into each other's homes and still be creative and be comfortable and safe was amazing. Such an amazing project.
Yeah. And we will get onto your virtual stuff a little bit later. But yeah, let's talk about more of your approach.
Yeah. So you were talking about how you went down to the beach with Emma, took your first photos, and she was like, "These are good." So you obviously had kind of a natural eye for a good photograph. So what do you look for? What's your approach? Do you look for light, a moment, shapes, or anything else?
I think for me, it was definitely the emotional side of stuff. That's why I struggled to find a photographer initially, because I just didn't align with anything, any of the photographs I was seeing. It was very posed, and it just didn't look very natural. And I kept thinking, if a baby couldn't get into that position, then why would I want it to be photographed? And that was just my own opinion. And I tried to always explain it. And I remember saying this to Emma. It was like, I can go out for a night out dressed quite, Gwen Stefani. It's quite loud. It's quite garish. And people would say, wow, that's an amazing dress, but they wouldn't wear it. And I think that's the same with photography. There was stuff that I appreciated, but I didn't want it. I didn't want my baby, and I certainly didn't want that art on my walls. So when I met Emma and we could collaborate a little bit on the style of stuff that I wanted for the session, it just felt kind of right. And the more I talked to her, and she was just like, what is it that you want? I was like, I just need some emotion. You want them to be held, and rather than in a basket, why are the babies not being held by their parents or in their baby's arms, or the mothers are all really done up? Like, that's not our journey. Like, we don't look like that most of the time. And that's fine that some people want it, but there was a definite market where there was none of that natural photography, where natural motherhood and something, I loved Sally Mann, always loved Sally Mann stuff. And it's not going that far fetched, but just something a little bit motherhood real, a little bit more real.
Yeah. So if at all, how does your approach change compared from a wedding to a creative portrait to a baby shoot? How does your sort of mindset approach change?
The wedding side of stuff, I go quite military, actually, to be honest. Like with the weddings, I think because there's a schedule and I can just go for it. With the family stuff, I just say to them, I'm trying to be an observer. And as much as you do that at weddings, I know there's stuff that you have to get. It's not like that with the families, and I want to see their individual personalities coming through a little bit more. And with the babies, it's trying to make them as relaxed as possible. And I think when you're going into people's homes, our mothers are feeling really vulnerable anyway, because they've just had a baby and their hormones are dropping, and some people don't feel that comfortable at their bodies. You want to make sure that they feel as comfortable as possible. So you're putting on a slightly different hat every time you do one. I think for weddings, I'm trying to make them feel super comfortable and super confident that I'm handling the day, because you're almost a bit of an event organizer as well. You're keeping the timing, you're keeping the shit together, making sure you're getting certain shots. It's not like that with the families and the babies. You've just got to flow with it a little bit. And if with families, you've only got a tiny window before they start playing up, because then the kids feel like they know you. So then they start being, with being polite, but you just got that, you've got a little window with them. And then the babies, you've just got to relax into it and try and get that connection with the mother out. Are they, when they're breastfeeding, are they hair pullers? Do they scratch their chest? And a lot of mothers will identify with that. Their little babies have got individual traits. So you're trying to work out what that is by letting the mother be as comfortable as possible.
I was in a clubhouse room and they were talking about the length of like a family session, or the length they use. Now, someone had suggested an hour, which I actually thought, that's a good amount of time. It's short enough to not like overstay your welcome, but long enough so you can get enough content. But then someone else kind of spotlighted the notion that yes, an hour is actually quite a long time.
Yeah.
And you might get a lot of images, but the quality of those images aren't going to be as good towards the end, because kids or whatever it may be, they only have you could maybe only get them for 20 minutes to be active and to be able to take a good photograph of them. So, and I wish I could remember the photographer that suggested 20 minutes as a session length. What's your thoughts to that?
I mean, to be fair, it's like, how long's a piece of string? Because every family is completely different, and it's not, I think that's what's hard. It's not prescriptive, and it depends what kind of photographer you are. So my friends that are studio photographers have a set poses and a workflow. There's lifestyle photographers and documentary photographers, anyone that does photojournalism. We can't have a workflow. You might have some ideas in your head of how you want to shoot, but that has a lot to do with the light. So I had beautiful light that came into my kitchen last night that lasted 20 seconds. If I was ready and I'd got that shot, it would have been an absolute knockout picture, but I didn't, and the light was there for 20 seconds. So I think depending, what's going on the time and how the children are, some children just turn up and they're an absolute nightmare, and you'd be better just to call quits on it and try another day. So I try to read them. I think when I first started, I thought there was a format, and now I just read it on the children, because some of them will sit and pose and it's tender and the parents are calm, and the other times they're running ragged, and then you're not going to get nice photographs unless maybe the parents' backs are turned. But you can tell if a child's face is relaxed or not, and I certainly wouldn't want memories of that session, because I think that's the energy. People come off sessions and go, oh my God, that was so hard, and you can almost feel that in the photograph. So I kind of try to not go on a prescriptive method. I think an hour, by the time you turn up and you walk about and you say hi to them and look at the light and then you shoot and say goodbye and get back to your car, you probably are an hour all up, but I certainly wouldn't want to shoot for an hour.
Yeah, I think...
Unless it was amazing, obviously, and then I'd shoot for 5 hours. But
yeah, I suppose. Yeah, so would you schedule like an hour's worth and just hope that everyone's having a good time and you get more images? How do you market what kind of content that a client gets, or a couple gets, or a family gets?
I say an hour's session. I think I say 60 to 90 minutes. Yeah. So it just gives them a little bit of leeway, because I think if I say 60 to 90 minutes, they can arrive and change their shoes and give the kid a snack. But I always say, if you need to stop and feed, or the little ones are upset, we are completely, I always say, either baby-led or family-led, because some of them just turn up, especially little boys. If they're just at school age, a lot of them are just like, they pull the cheesy grin with a face. And the mother's like, stop doing that, just smile nicely. And I kind of tried to say to them before the session, unless they're harming each other or they're going to hurt themselves, do not give them into trouble. Just leave them, just today, just for an hour. Just don't give them into trouble. If they're doing anything that I think, let me say it, because I'm the stranger. I'm the big, scary, blonde stranger. Well, not scary, but let me say it, and I will try and bring them round, because as soon as the parents give them into trouble, the vibe's lost. And then they're like, I don't want to. And then you're buggered anyway. So yeah, I think you're prepping the parents, if anything, is like, just you chill and let me do this.
Yeah. And I think scheduling wise, it's kind of like you would want to schedule about an hour at least, because scheduling 20 minutes means you have to turn up and shoot. Whereas
mini
it's
sessions.
like at a wedding, when you turn up at preps, you want to just break into the room and chat to people, not start shooting straight away. You want to just kind of ease in and let people know that you're a friendly face and a friendly person before getting into the shooting. So
how many? So I guess my next question would be, and from the point of view of the people who are paying, they're not just paying for the time; they're paying for a set of images. So I guess you get asked a lot. How many images am I going to get in my gallery? And does that vary? And then how do you tell them that, okay, well, if we're having a good session, you'll get X amount, and if it's if you need to stop and feed or whatever, the amount of images are going to get reduced. Is that ever an issue?
No, I don't sell it that so much that way. But what I have done is completely changed my pricing and the way that I sell packages just through lockdown, and rejigged it on my website, because beforehand, again, this is a very personal subject matter, but I think on general we deliver too many images. There's sometimes things are just overwhelming, even for weddings, like 600, 700, 800 galleries. It's just huge, like absolutely huge. And I know people obviously deliver in the thousands, and that's completely their personal taste. But when I sit down and look at what I like and what I think my clients would like, I would prefer to give a smaller amount that they all meant something. So one of the packages now is 5 images. And this is kind of maybe more based on what studio photographers would do, even though that's not what I do. But I would rather that they had 5 beautiful images that were framed or up on their wall, or, something, a big piece of art was made from it. And then you can go up to 20 images or all images, but that would be no more than 40. Because even 40 images in a book, that's a lot of images to look through. And even when I've done the session that I did with Emma, I've done 2 sessions with her, and I love all the images. I still only have 5 or 6 printed on my walls. One of the sessions I put into a book, and that's 20 images of my favourites. So I think the more we give, it almost dilutes the ones that we have given, because there's some amazing ones in there, but a lot of the time we give 5 shots that look quite similar. There's no need for that. Just get rid of the 4, give the best one.
Yeah. That's actually fascinating because, as filmmakers, we don't deal with that kind of specifically, but we do have our own version. And it was like a few years ago, when, we'd still get clients going, oh, can we get like a 3-hour film? I'm like, what? 3 hours? Like,
wow,
like
Avatar.
So you're just wanting everything that we shoot, instead of something that is tightly woven into like 15 minutes that actually takes you on an emotional journey. It's more just, I want everything that's documented, rather than, and I suppose that's just a completely different product that you'd be making, but
and it actually takes more work and effort to make the 15-minute film, because you're having to be strict and really curate that story.
Yeah.
Same with photography, you're having to cull those images all the way down to 2 or 3, rather than just being like, these 20 are okay. It's harder to be like, no, these 2 are amazing. That's what you get.
Yeah. And I would actually love to hear if anyone's in the audience, during the Q&A section, if they struggle culling their photographs and any techniques that they get by, or do they just give in?
I know someone that is. I know someone in the audience that already is, but he'll know who I'm speaking about. The king of cant culling. So I would love to know. I would love to know what people think about that, because it's taken me 4 or 5 years to be able to look at stuff now really subjectively and just go, do you know what? Like those 5 images are so lovely, but really that one is better. Like that one is a little bit better than the other ones, and to give it to them, because I feel like we're trying to give for me anyway, I know it's not for everyone, but it's like a bespoke product. And for a bespoke product, I don't want to give you 5 dresses that all look kind of the same. There is one that will look better, and this is the one that I think would look better for you. So I'm trying to kind of give that service now, where with one of the images, one of the packages, it only comes with 5 images. Those 5 images are going to knock your socks off, and they're going to be beautiful, big, 16 by 1 million, whatever images, because I want you to see them.
Yeah, very cool.
And obviously, if you do have any sort of mentions or comments about culling, we'll get to the Q&A section at the end, once we've sort of covered the podcast topic stuff.
Yes, I see someone's hands up in the audience. We will get to you during the Q&A section. I do apologise.
Please stick around.
But this time is only for our guest. Kellee, I love your work, and that is whether it's your children, which it's funny because Greg's obviously, I'd written bairns because that's obviously what you call them in your website. Greg's changed it to children for our international listeners. Whether it's your children, your motherhood, or your family sessions, I really do think, and you've mentioned this, obviously, it's that raw and those honest moments that you capture that draws me to them. How would you actually get people to open up and feel comfortable with you, when you pull up the camera and start creating something that's so vulnerable?
It's not easy. It's not an easy thing to do, because like I say, a lot of the time this is at a really vulnerable stage of women's lives. But I think the more images that I put out there like that, and I knew I wanted to do something a little bit more raw. I wanted to do something a little bit more emotive. And, if you are choosing, not that all mothers choose to breastfeed. So a lot of the time, this is another quite controversial thing, because people will see all the breastfeeding photographs and think that I'm against bottle feeding. I combi fed both my children. But if it's a choice between a baby breastfeeding or a baby on its own or a baby with a bottle in its mouth, I will always take the bottle out of the photograph. I'd rather just have the baby. So I'm definitely not anti bottle feeding. I just don't want a plastic or a glass bottle in a photo. So the more images I shared like that, the more people felt comfortable. And I think there was a couple of people that booked some sessions, and then I would put something up with a little bit more skin or a little bit more vulnerability, or that soft kind of baby belly that mothers have afterwards. And the postpartum stuff, everybody goes through on some degree. So the more I shared, more people, and actually other mothers that came back and said, you know what, I wouldn't mind having more photographs like that. I wouldn't mind a little bit more vulnerability. I wouldn't mind if I had some images like that. And I think that's when people started to come out their shell, because if you show it, they will come. But if no one sees it, then you just think, well, I can't. I'll have to cover myself up because that's what you do. And I've got to wear a beautiful dress and be by the sea and have a sunset behind me. It doesn't need to be like that, because that's very rarely what motherhood's like. I don't know about many people, but I certainly wasn't sashaying around the sea in a beautiful dress. I was lying at home, like we said, like those Renaissance paintings, just naked with your boobs out, fat on a sofa. Because that's what it's like. So definitely the more I showed it, and I did a model call, I think it was 2019, and I got 5 mums to come to the studio, girls that I knew, and I just said I would give them some prints, and I thought, so I had all this content to put out on Facebook and Instagram, just what I wanted, and it was rawer than any of the other stuff, because you couldn't maybe just, try stuff out on paid clients as much. So I did the model call with the 5 images, and because of those 5 images, I booked 25 jobs off it. So it was definitely one of the best things that I've done for my business, is shoot what I wanted on my own dime and use those images for marketing, and they came.
Yeah. Well, talk to us about that kind of notion of show it and they will come, because I know you've had some social media censorship of your content issues in the kind of near distant past. Every day, yeah. So tell us about your most recent troubles with social media. And
it's every week. Yeah, it's every week.
Is it really?
Yeah. It's getting to the point now that they censor, even if there's say people that are but kids that are touching noses. I think they're getting taken down because I think Instagram must think it's nipples. So it's an absolute, it's an absolute joke. So I'd probably say every week 1 or 2 images, and at some point 4 or 5 images a week was getting taken down, and it was so exhausting because Instagram have removed the functionality of being able to fight your cause. There used to be a kind of do you want to, what's the word, not report it, do you want to
contest?
Yeah, contest it. Well, that wasn't the exact word, but there was something like it, that you could just press a button and just say, well, no, it's not a nipple, actually, it's a thumb. And they've removed that. So when they take your images down, your images have gone, and you've shot that image and you've lit it beautifully and you've edited it beautifully. And I do censor stuff for Instagram. I don't put boobs out there, to get traction. I don't use, hashtags to get people to look at my feed just because they're boobs. These are feeding mothers. It's the only reason I have them stuck to my chest. There is no other reason that they're on my body. It's not for bikinis. It's not for porn. It's not for men. It's for feeding my children. Only reason I've got them. Whether you choose to use them for that or not, that's the only reason that they're there. So for them to be censored and taken down on Instagram in this day and age is an abomination. There should be, there has to be some sort of level. I get with the censorship, then if it's censorship, then we should all censor. Almost like the black bands, from the old magazines, like the editorial magazines, like 2 black strips that go through them. If that's what you tell us, and tell us the guidelines, and we'll do it. But to work on your work that much and then it be taken down, it's just a waste of time. And I think for Instagram, it's a lot of people's portfolios. It's how we get work. So we do try to curate them. And you spend so much time thinking of captions and hashtags and putting them out there and sharing them. And you get sometimes loads of likes and it gets taken down. No matter how much you try to be professional, it is disheartening.
I actually put a poll out there and I asked, do you think society has an issue with displays of breastfeeding and motherhood? And 89% said yes. 11% said no, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah.
But I loved, you know Kat from Finflucra?
Yes.
She wrote a really nice answer. And it needs to get the fuck over it. In my humble opinion, the patriarchal society has led to women's bodies being hypersexualized, meaning anything else, such as breastfeeding, is seen as taboo and inappropriate and not something you should do in public as much as possible, etc., etc. Utter patriarchal BS in the highest order. I suppose you would agree. Yeah.
And we've discussed this on so many levels, to wondering whether it is something else that we're missing. Like I said, I'm not being on my high horse because I breastfed some of my children, because I bottle fed them and they stopped breastfeeding early. It's got nothing to do with it. We just want to know the reasoning behind it. So yes, there's bots and they'll scan Instagram, and there's still people that go through it. And there'll people that report you as well. So it's quite a lost cause in terms of how you fight it, because it's just a faceless, entity that we don't have any body or a department or an email that you can contact to ask for help on it. So I think when you can't fight something, that's where we all feel a bit helpless, because even just in the audience, the speakers section, there's amazing maternity photographers and motherhood photographers whose work are taken down all the time. So short of putting a placard on and walking around the streets ringing a bell to market your business, Instagram and Facebook is what we use. So It's hard because it feels like people are controlling your business. And I get some people didn't breastfeed and that would upset them, or some people can't or haven't had children and that could upset them. You get that, but you can breeze over it. You're probably not going to be following a breastfeeding photographer. I'm not offended by something that I can't do, but I'm sure some people are. But to the level that the images are taken down on so many different people's pages, this is an institution thing. This is this is something that's a bit bigger, and we've tried to work out, is it better that we try to start a movement? Do we try to take this further and make it bigger than, all of us? But they tried to do the Free the Nipple movement. It doesn't get anywhere because the places that we're trying to advertise it on are the ones that are controlling it anyway. So no one sees the bloody movement,
God, yeah.
So
apart from the placard and the bell again.
Yeah. Is there anything that is happening right now to battle against the censorship, or that you can do if someone's posting those sort of images and they're getting taken down? Is there anything they can do to battle against that?
Not really. We've been discussing this the last couple of weeks about trying to start a movement on a bigger level with more of a kind of national press and print focus, whether it's something that needs to be fed out. But again, it doesn't matter whether we did this because the channels like Instagram or Facebook aren't showing it. So there are other platforms that you can, like web gallery stuff that you can go on, like remember like Smug Mug and all these big galleries that allow you to put whatever images you want up. And obviously you can put them on your own site, but it's getting people to your site, and people still do that through your social media channels. So
I'm also wondering, you're talking about social media, but does having these images, does Google does that sort of discount your website because of the content of it? Are they censoring as much as the social media firms?
Not on their website. The websites seem okay, but when you try to put something, say, in Google Your Business for SEO, that's when it can cause problems. So if I put anything on my Google My Business page, or any mother shared it, it says post removed for indecent content or sexual activity is the two favourites.
So they don't they don't knock down your SEO score because of the content of the website at all?
I don't think so, no. I've had mine checked quite a few times and it seems okay. So I think, again, if you're going on your site and you're clicking in, then you know what you're getting. It says it on my site. So, and the big main image is a pair of boobs. So if you don't want to go in, then don't go in. But no, I don't think it affects it as much on your site. But I love that question, so I'm writing it down as we're talking. Must check SEO score again.
The problem is getting people to your website from the social media channels.
Yeah, exactly. So if anyone's got any ideas, again, send them on a postcard too, or at the Q&A section if anyone's got any ideas on that or wants to be part of it, because I know there's a couple of people in the speakers part that are interested in being part of this as well. So it's how we go about it, because again, there's just no point just talking about it and not doing something about it. We need to do this because this is our work. This is what brings money into my house. So I'm not going to sit back, because it's not an unjust thing that I'm fighting for, especially with everything that's going on. This is women. We're trying to get as back to nature as possible and stop all this commercial shit that's like thingied into our heads that mothers need, and we must have this and we must have that and you must have this device and something that heats your nappy wipes. You're like, your bum wipes. Like, what? Take things back to how it was and just let mothers feed. But unless you put those images out there and try to promote it, it's never going to happen.
Do you have, obviously you deal with this quite a lot. Do you have any solutions that you've kind of found that work for you?
For Instagram specifically, yes. Recently, you obviously better to follow all censorship guidelines. So I do pixelate all images of breasts unless the baby is attached to the breast. That's just a no-brainer. Okay. When you're writing your hashtags, better to keep them as a 5. Keep it small if you can. And when you're going in to write your hashtags, you can actually put the hashtag in the top of Instagram and it will come up whether it's banned or not. So if you put in hashtag Free the Nipple movement, which was huge, and everybody still tags it, it will say underneath it in small letters that it's a banned hashtag. But if you put in the Free the Nipple movement, that one's allowed. So you have to be a little bit more conscious of the hashtags that you're using. Go in and have a clear out of all the ones that you've had, all the shitty ones before. And you just have to keep on top of it a wee bit more, unfortunately. A breast, how offensive.
I know that's mind-numbing, isn't it? Having to actually do that. It's just a little bit ridiculous. What good resources do you know that will allow people to check out whether hashtag's banned?
And for me, it's just been on Instagram itself. Everything else, I don't feel like it's kept up. So I tend to plan on my desktop. So I've got my Instagram open on my desktop and just put the hashtags in. And I have to do them for every post. But I think there's the more SEO rooms that I've been in on Clubhouse, which have been amazing, was saying just keep them to the 5. And some of the really big photographers have just kept their 5 favourite hashtags. They maybe change them just a couple if things have got banned, like Free the Nipple Movement or whatever. But they just keep it really small. It means you can keep on top of it. And if you're getting flagged for something, which could be because of a hashtag, at least you can control it. Yeah. Rather than having 30.
Yeah. Okay. Good tips.
Nice.
This is a Q&A reminder. There will be a Q&A section at the end of this podcast, so keep listening. Thank you very much if you are joining us live. I really do appreciate it. Obviously, if you have any questions, you can ask Kellee at the Q&A section. If you're not supporting us on Patreon, I should say, we've actually just launched our Patreon, which is a monthly membership, so you can support Greg and I to create this amazing podcast, and it gets you access to all the Q&A sections, all the Clubhouse stuff that we do. We record, we archive it. So yeah, it's also a great way to get in contact with us. Just, if you want to chat, it's a little bit more direct. So yes, we would appreciate your support, and you can do that at patreon.com/perspective by Cinemate. Yeah, Greg, let's hit that ad for Ashley.
With Jack was designed from the ground up and is tailored specifically for creatives. Whether you provide a service like design, development or photography, or offer advice to clients, With Jack is for you. It's focused on creatives. Insurance shouldn't be complicated, so With Jack has made every step easy. You'll deal with one form and talk to one Jack as you sign up, get covered, and move on with your day. With Jack is all about bespoke insurance for creatives. Simple. That doesn't mean more forms or faff, it means less. It's not about endless features and stale service. It's about one solid policy and the personal touch. Bye-bye unnecessary fuss. Hello, creative friendly insurance. Be a confident creative.
And we're back. Yeah, so I want to move on to your virtual sessions, Kellee, because I find virtual sessions are just bloody fantastic, if I'm honest. What a great, I don't want to say invention, but what a creative outlet for people who are stuck in the house, who can't get out. And I do not think it's going to go away anytime soon. So yeah, why did you decide to extend to virtual sessions?
Just to save your soul, basically. I had to do something from rocking back forward on the sofa, because I definitely wasn't going to be taking up knitting because it would get ripped with the children. I wasn't going to be able to paint. I certainly wasn't going to be able to take long baths. And I was getting a little bit, I lost 2.5 stone just walking like miles, like every day with my children. Like I'm over walking. So when the virtual stuff, I remember seeing something about a FaceTime session, and it was an American photographer, and I was like, God, that's quite interesting. And I started doing a couple. I'm thinking I'm like super original, because that's what everyone does when they think that you're onto something early. I had something like that recently with Emma, which is hilarious. You always think like you're like the first, and then there's someone else doing the first on their own schedule as well. So with the FaceTime stuff, I didn't think anybody else was really doing it. So I was shoot away, and then like I looked at some hashtags, and you were like, oh shit, God, there's quite a few people doing it. And then there was people in the UK that were doing it, and there was one guy, Tim, who'd just done like hundreds of them. I was like, God damn it. God damn not being original. But it kicked off. It was hard because the pictures were really grainy, and a couple of ones that I took were lovely because you didn't know any better. And then the more that the app developed, and there was 2 apps that came out, and they just were such good quality. I was adding grain to them because I'm like, no, you're too sharp. God damn you, virtual app. Like adding as much grain as I could.
Yeah.
And you thought, God, this is actually a really good way for people to feel comfortable in their own homes. I felt people would, like, some of the sessions started like totally naked, like where people were like, hey, where are we going? And because you're setting the camera up normally just on not a tripod, but just on a table normally, and you strap the phone to something. When they have to get up to sort the camera, like move it forward or backwards, it was like full Lady Garden coming at the screen, because it was at waist level. So I spent the first few months just literally staring at people's naked nether regions. It was it was wild. I was like, where has my photography gone? Never took any images, obviously, at that angle, disclaimer.
Yep.
But that could have been a whole series of images in itself. That could have been an exhibition, let me tell you. So yeah, it just kicked off. And I think the more people did it, there was still babies being born, and I wrote that on my website, and birthdays being celebrated, and families having events, and it allowed them to be photographed and documented. And I think documenting your days through this was even more important, because we all felt a bit exhausted and flat, and people were putting on loads of weight, and you're just like, we just need something to look forward to. And you're still spending this, maybe, hopefully, once in a lifetime with your family at home, And even if you weren't at home with anybody, even on your own, you're just like, this is a once in a lifetime thing. So let's be creative. I had loads of girls that lived on their own that were just like, I just want to do it for me. Let's just have a couple of gins and take some photos.
Yeah.
And we did.
You're saying that people are sort of starting the shoot already sort of bearing all and ready to take those raw images. But and because you've shown that sort of work, these clients are booking you for that. But do you still have people who start the shoot a bit shy and you need to break through and get to that raw part? Like, do you have any techniques, and was it different doing that over the sort of virtual sessions as opposed to being in-house?
Yeah, because there was sometimes a bit of a delay. I mean, you're completely dependent on technology. So a lot of the time people can hear you because we have good setups, and I'm hardwired and my signal's good and I've got the right ear pods, and you're talking away to them and they start talking. It's like, I'm like, what? Yeah. And, sometimes people are juggling multiple babies or children, and the dogs jumped in and they're all settled, and like the camera's out of focus, not out of focus, but it's at a bad angle, and you're trying to say to them, could you just shuffle over a little bit? And they're like, what was that? Sorry, what? I was like, just, it's okay, it's fine, I'll just take it here. So it can be, when it doesn't go right, and Jeremy that's in the audience, he does virtual sessions, and we would speak after sessions and just say, how did yours go? When they go wrong virtually, or things aren't going right, they can kind of go really wrong, because you just can't pull it back. You're not there to help with the baby. And I said this to Emma Lawson, obviously, who's in the womanhood group with me. We agreed the same. You can't settle them. You can't help the mum. You can't, go and just say, like, you sort yourself out for a second. I'll take the baby and settle them, or I'll change them and you do. You can't do that. So you're just there talking through a phone going, turn to the camera a little bit more so I get a little bit more light in your face. It's just, it can be a wee bit awkward. So you've got to be even more lighthearted and even more jovial with them to make them feel comfortable,
Yeah. Did I hear as well that you had I don't want to say bad sessions, but a few sessions that were a little bit difficult and it kind of took the wind out of you a little bit? Is that something you can talk about? Because obviously I know that a lot of people are getting into virtual sessions and might feel the same way.
Yeah. Oh God, no. I think it needs to be talked about, because you have a couple. I think if you do it and it goes amazing, you're absolutely buzzing, because you're like, this is the best invention ever. And everybody that we were talking to that was doing them and it was going well, you're like, oh my God, I'm never going to leave my house again. And I'm never coming out of my pajamas. And next time I'm going to shoot in the bath. And, it's just so practical. But when it goes bad, and I had 3 back to back, and it was just unsettled babies, one that's just had their jags, and then just a family where the little one just wanted to keep grabbing the phone, and because he was mobile and he could get up and he could do it, when he got the phone, he just launched it. So the connection was going all the time, and the mother was getting frustrated, and she sees the images that I've put up of other mothers, and it's all very ethereal. I'm like, we took hundreds of pictures to get that one image. Don't judge yourself by that at all. This is all smoke and mirrors, love. It was crazy. So don't put any pressure on yourself. And I always say, normally get the shots in the last 5 minutes. So don't stress yourself out.
Kellee, are you there?
You're back.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sorry.
We lost signal there. So we didn't hear what you said. I'm sure the audience maybe still heard you, because it was our signal that went down. But yeah. Oh yeah. Well, no.
Sorry. Oh, Emma said she heard it. So yeah, it's you guys. Bow bow.
Okay. Okay, that's fine. Well, we didn't hear what you said. I'm sure it was marvelous.
Oh, it was my most riveting bit yet.
And I'm sure we would have had a great follow-up question to that exact answer.
Oh, it would have been great. It would have been our pivotal moment.
I can't wait to edit this episode just to find out what you said. Okay, so Greg and I are filmmakers, obviously. And in fact, I don't know if you know this, Greg, but I've been the Shutter app has been messaging me about video features and how to make the videoing side of the virtual sessions something. So that could be cool. But obviously, and in fact, you've had a session with Nikki, so you'll know the process, but I don't. Kellee, can you run me through a whole session?
Sure can.
Yes.
So normally when they book you, I normally try to speak to them on Messenger because I feel like it's a little bit more friendly than email already. So we get a bit of banter on Messenger, and I send them through 4 little paragraphs, and it just says, please download the Shutter app, because that's my chosen preferred app, which means I'm working on my desktop and they're working on their phone. And then it says, please make sure that you've got memory space on your phone available, 4 gigs ideally. And then the next one I says, please get a tin of beans and a hairband, because you're going to strap your phone to it. No need for a tripod because they can be wonky. If you have someone to help you, then great. But if not, it's not essential, but we can get nice angles if your partner or someone's there to help you. And then at the bottom, let me know if you've got any children or pets, and props and changes of outfit are welcome. And that is it. So they download the Shutter app, and it gives them a code, which they then send to me, and I plug the code in on my desktop, and it comes up on their screen. I'm on their phone. We're shooting on the back camera, obviously the good quality camera, but Shutter app has now developed a little video function where you hit the button and the client can see my face just to say hi. They can turn the phone round and we can talk to each other beforehand, and then I turn the video off. They strap the phone to the tin of beans with the back camera facing them, and I just take the pictures. You can either upload them during the session, but you can see them on the right-hand side loading as you go. And on the left-hand side, you've got this amazing function settings where you can control the focus and you control exposure, and it's got a lovely grid on it. And it's got all those amazing things. And having a video would be even more amazing. So that's quite exciting that you just said that.
Yeah, no, it would be cool. I'd be very interested to see. I have obviously seen a few like what I call motion videos. Like it's kind of like just someone moving, but it's nothing with a story or nothing too deep in video. So I do wonder if that's able to be possible, but obviously no one's ever done it, so we'll see.
I mean, the connection for film, for video, for photos can be hard. I mean, it might just be because of where we are in Scotland. We've got old houses and big walls, and I've been trying to shoot a Highlands campaign, which I would love to do with all breastfeeding mothers up in the Highlands. Cool. And I was shooting today, and the images were coming through, and I think I had to stop the session at about 600 images, just because the little one was getting really unsettled and needed to sleep, and I needed to give mum the break to go and settle her. And only 287 pictures came through, so that's something. Sveta's looking into that for me. But again, this is technology, and things are new, and it's going to go wrong. So even when that's just the photographs and that's the file size for photographs, I don't know how video would function. That's like a whole other world on it when you think of the size, especially with audio. I've got no idea how that could happen over the app, but if anyone's going to make it happen, it will be them. So fingers crossed.
I guess with this sort of files, does it depend on what phone people have got on whether you can shoot RAW, or is it all JPEG?
Well, Huawei doesn't do RAW. It's only iPhone that does, and some Androids do, but the Huawei ones don't. Some of the Huawei ones don't, and the iPhone does. And you can upgrade to get the RAW functionality, which I have on Shutter. So, but the JPEGs themselves are fine. The only reason that I take the RAWs through is because I like to turn people into religious paintings, and I can do a bit of Photoshop work on it. So if you're going to turn someone into a big painting, having RAWs is good, but not necessary for everybody.
Yeah, I was going to say a lot of your portraits have sort of a nice textured quality to them. Is that something that you're doing sort of post-production then? Yeah,
that's a canvas that I put over it. So I found old masters canvas overlays, and I just put them on at a really low opacity to give it that. So that's why when the virtual images are so sharp, you're just like, God damn, you're not old enough. Come on. Take that clarity slider down and put an overlay on it.
Are you editing on your phone, or do you just move them into your computer and do it there? I'm assuming
everything's on your computer because it's desktop. Shutter's a desktop application.
Ah, right. Oh, okay. That's cool.
I know. So I just sit at my desk like I'm working away. It's not FaceTime. I don't even touch my phone.
Yeah.
Which is amazing because it really saves your eyes. I know some people do like using Kloss because they can walk around, which is the other virtual app. They like to walk around with their phone, but no, that's...
Yeah, so you obviously mentioned the two apps. Have you used both, and what are the main differences for people kind of deciding between the two?
Yeah, so Kloss, which is just CLOS, is a phone-based one. So you can walk around with your phone and you're not tethered to your computer. And it also has video function at the moment. Shutter is a desktop app, and it has functionalities where you can control the exposure, etc. on this desktop, which is just, to me, an absolute lifesaver. It doesn't have the video, and you're sitting at your computer. So, but for me, it's Shutter's the winner right now.
Yeah.
Is there any sort of quirks that you've found out that would be useful for people? Like, I know with the Kloss app that the client has to keep the app open for a few minutes after the shoot for the files to finish uploading. Is there any other quirks that you've came across?
It's the same. It's the same with the one. Android sends straight for download, and iPhone will only download when the app is open. So say if someone even gets a call afterwards. So I'll say, look, I'm going to end the session now. The video and audio function are completely off. I'm not in contact with you anymore, but if you could keep the app open and running until the photographs come through, I'll just send you an email to let you know. But with Shutter, you can see all the images on your desktop already, so you know they're coming through. It's just the connection between the two of you waiting for the images to download. So for me, that's a little bit of a comfort that I can see the images. Every time I take a picture, it's on my desktop and I can see it in the gallery next to me. That's just one of those things. You like a little bit of backup to know your images, your images are taken. So that's the key. That's the hands down one for me. So I just say to them, keep it open until it's finished, and I'll send you a little message when it's done.
Yeah. Okay, that's cool. So when you do a session in someone's house, one, how many images are you wanting to get from a session? And two, are you going through their houses doing a number of different locations, or like what's your process in terms of like finding a spot to take an image at?
Yeah, I do the same virtual and in-house where you walk around and you're just trying to find the best bits of light. I think what I'm going to do moving forward when I can get into people's houses is talk to them a little bit more before the session to find out when the light hits people's houses better. So I took a couple of pictures in my house of when I had lovely shafts of light coming through into my bedroom and the way that it fell. It's not important to have that, but you know if the light's coming in at those places that it's going to be bright elsewhere. So I send them a couple of pictures like that, and people always go, oh, all right, okay, right, I know what I'm looking for now. And then they take a couple of pictures and go, would this work? So there's no point me saying like I'm going to do all my sessions at 10 o'clock or 10:30, because there was a girl that sent it through saying, I live in a miner's cottage. I don't get any light. The only light I get is at 6 till 6:30, and then it's gone when my baby wakes up in my bedroom. And I was like, okay, let's do it. And I phoned her, and the light came up behind all these other houses and lit her bedroom, and she sat in the most glorious light, and we had 30 minutes and it was gone. So I think you've just got to work with the light. I know that's not what everybody does, and we've got school runs and things to do, but for me, I want to get the best light, to be honest. So I'll do whatever it takes.
And how many images did you supply for that?
I took about 900 images.
Whoa! Okay.
And I know. Took about 900. Between probably a session, I would say I take between 500 and 1,000. And the full gallery, if they wanted to buy it, would maybe have 40 images.
Okay.
Or 10, and then I hone it down to the top 5.
Yeah. And do you say you can get your first 3 downloadable free, and then you have to buy the rest? Is that yeah. Cool.
Yeah. And people are booking that. I mean, I've got 3, 10, or all. And a lot of people have booked all with the virtual stuff just because it's such a good price point. And with that, they get a little gift. So I'm going to post tonight, I think it's 7 o'clock. And it's a gift from the session, just because I think, because it's on our phone and it can do that, I think it's quite nice just to give them that teeny little teeny little video snippy thing, just for a little bit of movement as a memory of the energy from the session. And
cool.
with the in-home sessions, I would probably say I'm going to try and get down to the same. I don't want to deliver a gallery with any more than 40 images in it. And I probably shoot about 1,100 in people's houses.
Oh my goodness.
I know. Culling with my eyes burning out my head. But that's because there's babies and there's children. So, I either take all those images and find them. And if I don't, and I haven't shot as many, sometimes you might end up head swapping because you could, you've got a baby and 4 children and the dog or whatever, someone's screwing their face up. If I just kind of tap quite a lot in the nice plate and in a nice place and the nice setup, I'm probably going to get all their faces relaxed and nice at the same time. Otherwise, it's going to get a wee bit more technical afterwards. So multiple people, multiple shots. I'd rather just cover all my bases.
And typically when you do a virtual session and you've selected the best light, are you just in the one location and you're just taking your 900 photographs right there?
No.
Or are you going, okay, you know what, I have like 50 in this location, let's find another place and we'll try something different? Yeah,
you try for, 3 locations would be ideal, I say to them. Bit of clothes on, bit of clothes off, maybe naked if you're up for it. That would be my wardrobe choice, naked being one of them. And we just say to them to have a nice little bit of light. It's nice to get them to lie down because some of the other virtual photographers, and there's another 2 in the room, they have incredible ones because they always ask the partner or the person to have a person holding the phone so you can get lovely above shots and different angles. It doesn't work as well for me. It works amazing for them and I'm very jealous of it, but it doesn't work as well for me. I've found them a little bit more blurred, but theirs are sharp as shit and I don't know how they do it, so I'm a wee bit jealous.
So I take it with this being so new, I take it your post-production workflow had to be tweaked a wee bit to work with these files? Like, did your colouring process or presets, have you had to tweak them to work with the JPEGs?
Yeah, not too bad. I got the RAW functionality quite early on, which was good. They come through even when I autofocus it when I auto exposure it on my desktop when I'm shooting, they look perfect. Then I download the RAWs and they look quite overexposed. So I'm still trying to work that out and I'm working with the developers on what I'm shooting is what I'm going to get. But obviously it's a RAW file, so it doesn't really matter. I can just pull the exposure down. I'd say they probably come out a little bit orange, but again, tiny little tweaks. It's not been as difficult as I thought. It was on FaceTime just because of the quality, but definitely not on this app. This app's it's like a camera, which is crazy.
Yeah. You know what, actually, whenever I've been out just wandering about, and I've got the iPhone, is it 12 just now? Or whatever the new one is.
That looks like 12.
And it's got the RAW capability. But whenever I've turned it on, by default, they always are really overexposed. And as you say, you can fix that in sort of Lightroom, but I found it strange. Like, I need to be conscious of pulling the exposure down before I take the shot or just fixing it later.
I've never noticed that. Interesting.
So quite often it's just default to, like, from a walking about and just taking random sort of shots day to day, I just leave it on JPEG because it's like the HDR JPEGs on the iPhone are pretty damn good.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Am I really going to pull this ladybug on a stump into, Lightroom and edit it in a RAW? Nah, I can just keep you JPEG. Do you know what I mean? Picture of my coffee for Instagram. I'll just keep it as a JPEG.
So how long does it normally take you to edit?
I'm not too bad now. I used to be terrible, but there was no guilt in that because Emma Lawson, who I was saying obviously I started with and mentored with, was super fast for things. And even Neil Thomas Douglas, another Scottish wedding photographer, he was like rapid, and it was like the people were talking about in hours and I was still talking days. And then I took the pressure off it and I was like, do you know what? Tomatoes. They're going to get the album. It doesn't matter when you get the gallery. It's not a big dick contest. That they can edit fast. I can't do that. So I'm not going to get myself annoyed with the fact that I can't edit as fast as them because obviously I just can't edit as fast as them. So I kind of stopped just going, do you know what? I'll just own the really long edit because maybe it's not about the focus. I just take a long time to edit. There was nothing that I could have done to speed up my workflow. I don't think I overshoot any more photographs at weddings than any of those guys do. I don't think. I think we looked at the images and it probably about 3,500 or 4,000 at the end of a wedding. So it was the same, but I just obviously I'm a lot slower. So I was like, stop comparing yourself. And I took the stress, I took the heat off myself a little bit and I just went back to my slow ass ways.
Yeah. If anyone's wondering how fast is fast, I know for a fact that Neil Thomas Douglas can edit a wedding in 3 hours.
I think Emma's about 4 or 5, maybe 3 now. I don't know. She's pretty fast as well. Yeah. And I was like,
Damn.
I want to do that. And I was like, you're not, so stop it.
They're obviously just half-arsing the edit.
Well, look, when it comes to editing,
I've seen Emma's edits are pretty. No, and as Neil was saying, he shoots straight now, so that makes a big difference. He said it took him decades to shoot straight, and Emma gets stuff really right in camera, and like she'll post up pictures, and I'm like, why is it so sharp? She's like, your images should be sharp. I'm like, yeah, but yours look weirdly, like amazingly. Like my cameras of another era. Like what are you using? And it was the same gear. So I'm like, is my lenses dirty? Am I doing something wrong here? So I think they just get it more right in camera. I'm obviously just
maybe
dicking about a wee bit more.
Yeah, but have you seen Emma's reds? Oh, Amy Lee says those reds are they need work.
We're talking about
Emma.
Red.
She can't defend herself. Poor lass.
Not yet.
Yeah, we'll move on. Because I do quickly want to talk about your isolation creations because I find them bloody awesome as well.
Do more of them.
Yeah, it's such a unique take on, well, like you say, the old masters. Kind of very, very, very oil painterly vibes. And you've done the Birth of Venus, Escaping Criticism, and the Young John the Baptist. Is that right?
Yeah.
So talk about why you did these and how you did these.
I bloody love these. Like, I'm obsessed with them. See, if I could make a career out of turning people into old paintings, I would bloody love it. It was my favourite thing to do. The one of my son as young John the Baptist, when I was thinking of inspiration and I seen that picture, and then he was sitting in his IKEA plastic white high chair on the side, having his breakfast. And my mum was having like Hotel Transylvania on an iPad above him, and I just shot him having breakfast. And I'll need to actually put up the raw, like the original image via what it turned out, because everyone's like, oh my god, like how beautiful is he looks like a cherub, and I'm like, he's literally having his breakfast watching Hotel Transylvania.
That is hilarious.
But how we turned it into that, to me that was magical. And I know some people are like, well, it's not photography because you've turned it into, and you're so much photoshopping. Shut up. This started as a photograph, and where it went, I love that vibe, because I think the reason I love those old masters and I love them for inspiration is, you never go to a museum and be like, oh, Da Vinci, how dated, Caravaggio, he was of his time, but nobody would do it now. You're like, no, you don't. The masters are the masters for a reason, and we still study their light and we still study their work now for a reason. So to use that and to pull that as our influences is never going to date. And I love the fact that that's why I use the word heirloom and timeless and masterpieces in them, because that's what we're wanting to create. If I could go to a photographer who gave me that image of the young John the Baptist recreation of my child, I would treasure that over 60 photographs of him playing. Not that it's they're just two totally different genres. I have both, but I would adore that. And I think that's something that was just a wee bit unique, and I would have loved to have done it more, but it's very time consuming.
I kind of figured it would be, but they are wonderful, I have to say. And if anyone doesn't know what we're talking about, you have to check them out. They're on Kelly's website. Just really fantastic, and such a unique thing that you don't see very often. And honestly, if you're thinking that's not a photograph, just do one. Like, that is so, like, I can't believe people are like, you don't do that with do people do that with other forms of art? I suppose maybe they did, like when pop art came along. Like, that's not real art. It's just absolutely absurd that there should be, or it could be rules to creating art, and who even cares if it's a photograph or a digital image or whatever?
Yeah, well, they're saying, what's the point of turning a photograph into a painting? And I was like, well, where an artist is using brushes and they still have influences, and I'm sure a lot of the women that are in their images are beautiful. They've got beautiful skin and beautiful eyelashes, and their eyes are bright and white, and the hair is lovely. So yes, I do that in my images, but the ones of my children, I mean, the only images that I chose for myself, I chose them because I thought they looked easy, because I did one and it was really difficult, and I think it was Lady Magdalene in Ecstasy. I was like, oh, the woman leaning on her elbow, on a chair. Like, that's easy.
Mm-hmm.
I put my neck out and I put my back out so bad that I've still not got over it. And that was from June last year.
Yeah.
Because it was like, because I said to my mum, I was like, Mum, can you just look at the iPad and just tell me what to do? And she was like, hold your shoulder up like you're on the phone. And I was like, all right, okay. Put your hand down, put your chin down, chin up, back, arch your back, put your bum in. I was like, oh, Jesus. I was like, Mum, I've got a cramp. Mum, she said, just wait, hold it. And then obviously I'm trying to put the camera on timer, and it was horrific. I went into a spasm. I've never recovered from it.
Yeah.
And I chose it because it was easy. I thought it was easy. I thought she was just a reclining woman.
Yeah.
How wrong I was.
Yeah. What you said there about the creating timeless images, there's so many photographers and filmmakers, us included, like wedding photographers, who do use those words in their work. Like, want to create a timeless heirloom for your sort of visual legacy. But yeah, the masters are like the originals. They've been timeless forever. And it's like, is wedding photography, can it be timeless? Because you've got people in sort of outfits those are going to date the work eventually.
Yeah.
Oh, you're talking about the individual elements that make up all the aspects to a wedding, like the fashion, the ceremonies themselves. Are those going to date? Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yeah, it's a hard one because this is another. We touched about this in another room we were talking about once, where sometimes you have to have certain life events or things that have happened where, there's people in the speakers rooms that were raised a certain way, their lifestyles were a certain way, their parents were certain ways. It's completely influenced their work, and you can see that in their work. You can see the influences on things. And for me, things changed when I lost my dad, because he was my best friend. He was such a young guy. I just never thought it would happen. It was always someone else's parents. It was always someone else that died. You're always helping somebody else's whose parent had died. And then literally the first thing that happened, I was like, shit, where's the photos? Oh, like, do I have one of them with my son? Like, do I have him with the other baby? Do I have him with where's the ones at the wedding? Like, you start going through all this stuff because that is it. It's your memories, a couple of bits of clothes, and these photographs. And because there's so many photographers now, and it's a little bit easier for people to maybe try it out with digital photography rather than it being film stuff, which was, a real learning curve. With the digital stuff, people can dip their toe into, and people can also do it on their iPhones amazingly. That there's a certain maybe shine that's not shine that's taken off photography, but these are, when you have these sessions done, like I would have loved to have a picture with my dad properly. And you think when you try to tell young dads now, when they get these pictures, like, oh, I want to take pictures. I'm like, if you look at the photographs you've got, it'll be selfies at the football, maybe selfies at the gym, depending what kind of person you are, out with your mates, or if you're more kind of hipstery dad, there'll be a few of you basically covered up with a beard and a hat and your baby standing in a park. That might be it. Like, I would love a picture of my dad just looking like my granddad did at the war, like when they were in uniforms or the smart suits. And you maybe only get that at weddings, but then a lot of people don't do like full groom portraits, which I love to do now and add it into my work, because I want that dad and that groom to have a picture of him, feeling as amazing as the bride did, and they can look back on it, and the wife and the children can look back and just go, I like that. And it's not a selfie of him at the gym.
Yeah.
That's the heirloom part to me. But I had that perspective because I lost my dad. So I maybe never had it beforehand, even though maybe I understood what heirloom meant. Now I really understand what it means, and I really understand the value of portraiture.
Yeah. Damn.
That was deep.
That was deep. Yeah.
Oh, she went there. She went there with a dead dad. I did. But it was true. It took my work on another level. So it was it was important.
Yeah. Well, thank you for being open and honest with us.
Thanks, love.
It means a lot. Yeah. Awesome. Well, that's probably a good time to wrap up. Thank you, Kellee, for spending your time on this beautiful sunny day. I know. Goodness.
I don't know if we chose the best day for everyone to be like, I'm out in the sun, people. I'm glad we recorded it, but it was nice to just talk to you guys. I know we've only ever had a couple of times in some rooms, and some of the people that came in and listened to us there I've been in rooms with, and they're so lovely. So I thank them for coming in and listening as well.
Yeah.
Yes, no, definitely. Can you tell listeners where they can find you online?
Yeah, on Instagram, it's Kellee Quinn Photography. And unfortunately, you have to type the whole word out because Instagram won't show me up. But my link is in the bio here on Clubhouse or just kelleequinn.com. I shortened it from Kellee Quinn Photography because clearly I think I'm Beyonce. So it's just kelleequinn.com.
Awesome. Yeah, if you haven't already clicked on the follow button for Kellee, you should absolutely do that and click on the wee bell because her photography and womanhood room with Emma Lawson is fantastic. I highly encourage you to go there and give it a listen. And people can find us at cinematefilms.co.uk. Our Instagram and Facebook is Cinemate Films. We hope you enjoyed this episode, and if you did, you can join us on Patreon, and I hope that you do at patreon.com/perspective by Cinemate. As for as little as £1, you can support the podcast and get our update newsletters. And for the price of a coffee every month, you get access to the Q&A sections, which, if you've been joining us live, you know is just a fantastic fun listen. You also get access to our roundtable discussions that we have on Tuesdays at 10 a.m. and even more bonus content that you can't get anywhere else. Of course, if you don't have any money to give, that's absolutely fine. You are still our best friends. You can, of course, hit that subscribe button so you get a notification and get your normal podcast for free. If you consider leaving a review, that would be awesome, and we'll even give you a shout out if you do. However,
in the meantime,
enjoy your life.